remembered, the dam on Bilderberg coverage has broken across the world, and the biggest blackout zone has always been here in the United States, Canada, North America. But thanks to Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, all of our readers and listeners, and, of course, TheDrudgeReport.com, it is now a giant news story across the United States. Talk radio is discussing it. The actual criminal rulers of the planet who tried to meet in secret, who have gone to incredible lengths to build a huge tunnel to block their entrance to the luxury hotel in the mountain resort of St. Moritz, Switzerland. Then they had a bomb scare about an hour ago. The media and protesters' cars were parked up at a car park near the hotel. Aaron and Paul could not get their car back, and they were told there'd been a bomb scare at Bilderberg. That broke at Infowars.com. The Drudge Report is top link to that. Also, the key report by Kurt Nimmo is up at Infowars.com, also at DrudgeReport.com. Breaking: secret Bilderberg agenda leaked by Mole. Other top story: bomb scare shuts down road to Bilderberg meeting. Here is some of the other reportage today. CNBC, friends in high places. Bilderberg 2011 kicks off. The dam has broken. BBC's covering it. Europe marches on Bilderberg tyrants. Infowars.com. Alex Jones calls for global Bilderberg group protest. Plutocratic puppeteers meet in Switzerland for annual Bilderberg conference. Infowars.com. BBC disinfo piece. Bilderberg mystery. Continuing here with the other news. Bilderberg's build wall to hide attendees. Video: Richard Pearl, Bill Gates, others, the head of NATO, Secretary General of NATO, delegates spotted at Bilderberg. And Aaron shot high-def photos of those, but he's got to get back to the hotel, and his car, the rental car, is locked up behind the highway that's been shut down due to the ridiculous bomb scare. And there's no doubt in my mind that insiders have done this bomb scare. The globalists have been caught doing this over and over again at different events to be able to lock things down. British intelligence constantly gets caught around the world throwing firecrackers, basically cherry bombs, at their embassies. And it comes out later they do it as a pretext to increase security. This is a standard procedure. It could have been a real bomb threat by some idiot as well, but my gut tells me it's an inside operation so that they can push the perimeter back even more, knowing that the usual suspects, the young socialists, are going to be there protesting them tomorrow. But liberty lovers in Europe and worldwide, Americans that live in Europe that don't want to be part of the banker bailout round 2 that Obama is pushing for and that's being pushed for inside Bilderberg to prop up the continued looting of the bankers. Everybody needs to converge there. Everyone needs to go there. Of course, Switzerland is landlocked, surrounded by Italy, France to its south, to the north, Germany, and it is only a few hours away for most Western Europeans. Get on a plane. Get on a train. You have no excuse. This is the Liberty stock, the Woodstock moment. I had this epiphany, this flash of understanding yesterday during the third hour that we need to have a spontaneous demonstration. Sure, there's a few hundred people there demonstrating alternative media. They picked a remote, out-of-the-way place because the Bilderberg group, headed up by Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, the Dutch royal family, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Henry Kissinger, the heads of Google, Bill Gates, the usual globalist one world government, carbon taxing suspects. They have so looted Spain and Greece and Portugal and other areas where there are riots every day that there's no way they would meet in those countries. They've sucked dry. So they're hiding out in the mountains near the Matterhorn, hoping you don't come. This is going to be undoubtedly one of the most important broadcasts I have ever done today. It is Thursday, the 9th day of June, 2011. We're going to be live here for the next 3 hours. I am Alex Jones. You are tuned in to to the GCN radio network over our wonderful AM and FM affiliates, XM, Sirius, Global Shortwave, and Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.tv. Thank you for joining us. If you are a new listener, the Bilderberg Group, set up in 1954, on record, many of their papers have been released now by them, was set up by the Nazi Prince Bernhard, whose wife was the Queen of the Netherlands, and, of course, Prince Philip, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II. It is an open eugenics body wanting to set up world government to carry out population reduction, and they are openly the group that set up the euro. Covertly, they are headed up by the big mega banks that are openly looting Europe. Obama has said he wants another round of austerity crackdowns on Americans to give trillions more to, quote, bail out Greece. That means bail out the big mega banks that created the derivatives. It's not a bailout. It's a robbery. Over 90% of the debt is not owed by the Greek people. They are the same people imploding the U.S. economy by design and lying to us and saying we're not in a depression, a deepening depression. Now, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. Instead of just protesting in Greece, and in Athens, and D.C., in the United States, and London, and England, and Berlin, and Germany, or in Lisbon, in Portugal, you need to go directly to the Bilderberg Group meeting out of the way in Switzerland, where they hope that you will leave them alone. That's why they're meeting in the beautiful, one of the most beautiful places in the world, high mountain plateau, beneath the Matterhorn and the rest of the Swiss Alps, there in the town of St. Moritz. Paul Watson of PrisonPlanet.com, hailing from England. Aaron Dykes of Infowars.com, hailing from Austin, Texas. Both great researchers and writers for my websites, have been dispatched this year and are doing a fabulous job. Their reportage is the top of Drudge Report right now, along with Kurt Nemo's reportage breaking down the intel they've gotten. Breaking secret Bilderberg agenda leaked by Mole. We now have it in detail. Be going over that today. The dam has broken on the news blockade in the United States, thanks to our work. And, of course, the Drudge Report, now CNBC, has the headline, Friends in High Places, Bilderberg 2011 kicks off. It's one of the top search terms now on the web, trending towards #1 organically. We are also calling again for the mass protest, high noon Saturday. More details on that. Let's actually call out the corrupt ruling class that uses government to suck off the population. There was a bomb threat about 2 hours ago. It shut down the main highway that leads up to the mountain retreat. They have built these big barrier walls, basically tunnels for hundreds and hundreds of yards, so the cars can stay at a high speed. The limousines bringing in the head of NATO, Bill Gates, others, Richard Pearl, have been photographed by Aaron Dykes and Paul Watson in the high-res cameras. They had to get back to the hotel to now start uploading those. They're also identifying more globalists as they arrive. More are coming in now. They're going to go down and talk to Jim Tucker in the hotel here in about 25 minutes. We'll also get a report from Jim. Then they're going to dispatch back out there where globalists are still arriving. Some will also arrive tomorrow. But they declared a bomb scare and shut down the road, blocking the reporters' cars and demonstrators' cars that were parked on the side of the road. And Aaron just now got the car back, and their hotel's only about 5 minutes down the mountain. They are now there. So huge breaking news. As we don't just protest Obama or Nicolas Sarkozy, we actually go and face down the people who we know are trying to overthrow liberty worldwide and install a global corporate technocracy that controls the populations through the government and their selectively enforced carbon taxes and socialist health care. And so now we go to Paul Joseph Watson, Aaron Dykes, waiting in the wings. Paul, great job. Again, top links on Drudge, driving in, talk radio, everywhere is talking about the Bilderberg Group, something that we know from our moles they are horrified of. This is a great victory for liberty. We are actually identifying the puppeteers and not the puppets. I salute all of you that are there on the ground. I salute Matt Drudge. I salute the free press. This is incredible. They're also meeting in there trying to go after free speech on the internet. That's in the report. These are tyrants. And you are there at the Dragon's Cave opening. Again, I just have to salute all of you that are there. Jim Tucker, AmericanFreePress.net, everyone. Watson, give us a report of what happened today.
Hello, Alex. Good to be back. Yeah, basically, we got there in the morning. There were other journalists that went to the local airport here in St. Moritz to try and catch these Bilderbergers as they were exiting their private jets. And the most interesting report to arise out of that is that there was apparently some kind of medical emergency on one of the planes carrying the Bilderberg members. Now, obviously, this is not confirmed, but this is what We Are Change Birmingham filmed, and we're actually going to get a copy of that film and post it on the websites as soon as possible. There was a medical emergency on one of the planes, and one of the Bilderberg members was actually taken off the plane, and they actually rolled out a red carpet, he reported, before this individual was taken off the plane. Then there was an ambulance with blacked-out tinted windows that took him away from the scene.
Let me stop you. Let's be clear, because Kurt's going to write a blurb about this. This is newsworthy. We Are Change Birmingham, would that be out of England? Was in, of course, where they're landing 2 hours away, because the airport is closed there in the off-season at St. Moritz. They're flying into what Swiss city did this happen in? And again, We Are Change directly from where? Videotaped what?
It was a local airport in St. Moritz, because the problem with it is the cloud cover is so low that they were having difficulty getting permission to land the flights in the morning. So throughout the whole morning and most of the afternoon, we had basically not much more than a handful of Bilderberg attendees actually arrive.
So that's why the story's changing. You had been told the airport was closed. You went there, nothing was happening. Now you learn it was the cloud cover. That's why a lot of them were diverted to the Zurich, 2 hours away. Okay, continue. So We Are Change was staking out the airport. They didn't buy that it was closed, and they caught a red carpet taking one of these globalists off in a stretcher?
I don't know about a stretcher, but they said it was a medical emergency, that somebody was ill, and so they had an ambulance pull up with tinted windows, rolled out a red carpet, and I mean, he says he's got it on film, and he's going to give us the film. So, and then this individual was taken away, and then for the next few hours, there was barely a trickle of Bilderberg attendees arriving. We took photographs, which we're not 100% sure because they're blurred, and we need to blow them up and analyze them on the computer. But one of the very first attendees that arrived, both myself and Aaron, as soon as we saw him, immediately thought it looked like Richard Pearl, because he had kind of Nosferatu face with a balding head. And Aaron was stood at the opposite end of the press area, because the police had helpfully drawn a line, a free speech zone in which we could stand. And as soon as I went up to Aaron, he said his first instinct was that it was Richard Pearl also.
Sure, just like in 2006, I knew it was Wolfowitz, and we later confirmed it. The human eye is still a lot better than a camera, as they built that several hundred-yard-long tunnel for them to go in with walls on both sides so they can speed up. You're there firing photos off as fast as you can. Also, we're told that Bill Gates and the head of NATO have also been photographed.
Yeah, the second attendee that we were able to get a photograph of, which Aaron did, the photo is quite blurred, but to me it looks like Bill Gates. I may be incorrect, we've got to analyse it, but that was my initial instinct. And then we got quite a good photograph of a third attendee arriving, and we asked the We Are Change Switzerland and the assorted independent journalists who they thought it was, and they said it was the NATO Secretary General, who is Rasmussen, is that correct?
Yeah, and of course they're running the big bombardment right now in Libya, now secret airstrikes, New York Times reports, in Yemen. I mean, that's a fifth war now. Paul, specifically, obviously you guys, after you're done getting Tucker on, need to get back out to that airport. A lot of times they do come in later in the evening. It's not dark there yet, and the mother load is about to get there. They have to drive 2.5 hours from Zurich, as you guys did when you got in on Wednesday. But expanding, I know Aaron was the guy that actually talked to the police. We'll come back to him after the break. But dealing with the bomb scare, what's your take on that? What did you see?
Well, Aaron's the best to explain that, because we were at the bottom of the hill. Our car was parked at the top of the hill right out at the hotel. Literally about 50 yards from the hotel in in the parking area. And we had physically moved our equipment down the hill because the Bilderberg cars were arriving and they had a sharp left turn. So all the cars had to slow down to a crawling speed, which enabled us to get better photographs and have more chance of capturing their faces. So we were at the bottom of the hill. The car was left at the top of the hill. When Aaron went back up the hill to retrieve the car, that was when this whole bomb threat thing began. And I'll put you on to Aaron so he can explain it in detail.
Absolutely. In fact, we're showing video right now for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers. We're going to get this added to the Drudge Link bomb scare report, where as the Bilderberg groups, you guys found a weak spot where they had to turn around slowly, and we're getting video. Suddenly, they then announced the bomb scare. We're going to go to break here and come back with Aaron Dykes on this breaking news. So as soon as that happened, then they shut down the whole main road to push our people back even further so that we couldn't get video of the globalist arriving. Again, why do they want to hide this? Well, Hillary Clinton had to pay a $300,000+ fine in the mid-'90s for going to Bilderberg and getting caught. That's why now when she goes, they keep it totally secret. And she's in Europe right now, by the way, and no one, quote, knows where she is with her special helper, Mrs. Wiener. You can't make this stuff up. We'll be right back. The Bilderbergs are hiding out in the woods, you see.
I live back in the woods, you see. My woman and the kids and the
Yeah, they're hiding up there in some of the most beautiful territory I've ever seen. Looking at these photos at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com are breathtaking. Okay, we've got Aaron Dykes and Paul Watson with us. Aaron, tell us about the bomb scare. Then we're getting Tucker on. And we're also going to try to get Mark Anderson on tomorrow from American Free Press, who's there as well, and very articulate and informed. You guys in the last 30 minutes today will report back from the steps of the lockdown hotel with the paramilitary police out there. Aaron, describe what happened when you guys found a spot where their cars had to slow down and you were getting Bill Gates and the head of NATO and others. Something happened. Tell us what happened.
Well, the protesters and us had been standing out there all day, and the police have been gradually pushing us back. They built an additional veil, further restricting the view of the hotel and the arriving attendees. Then after a few hours today, the police suddenly cordoned off the road itself, blocking off a public parking lot where our car was parked and other people we spoke with. I spoke directly to the chief of police, or the main police officer running that, and he said, tough luck, you can't get your car. He said there's been a bomb scare. Then we found that 2 people have allegedly or reportedly been arrested. Whether or not they were connected with this so-called scare, we don't know. But that was the implication. There was even a claim that they found something.
They did that in 2008 in Virginia. They had the guy that obviously worked for them. They later released him claiming he had a gun. And remember, that guy was there only videotaping us?
That's right. So Bilderberg are quite ready to pull a false flag to beat back the protesters and clamp down the public eye because they know people are watching what they're doing, and they want to restrict that as much as possible.
And to be clear, the police told you there had been a bomb threat.
They did say there had been a bomb threat. They said no one could get through, neither cars nor persons. And I was first told it'd only be 15 or 20 minutes, then that extended to 1 to 2 hours. All things told, it ended up being an hour and 15 minutes or so until they opened back up the roads to the bomb scare. Then, of course, police were roping off the area, closing off other entrances. And while a lot of the members came through the main road where everyone were, they were also using a blocked-off one-way entrance for kind of a back door into the hotel as well. So we're doing what we can to cover all angles.
Well, incredible job, Aaron. How many media people and protesters are there, ballpark?
A few dozen, maybe 30 or so. I did see at least one media person. Hopefully others will be showing up. We'll find out.
All right, great job, Aaron. And I know that I'm going to let you travel down into the smoking lounge where Jim Tucker, of 35 years covering Bilderberg in the wilderness, is down there. And I know Jim, at least in the videos I've seen, appears to be a little under the weather. But we'll try to get as much information as we can out of him. And if you then also see Mr. Anderson there, Mark Anderson, also with the same paper, then perhaps we'll talk to Tucker for 5-10 minutes and then hand it off to him. If not, get back in the car get back over to Bilderberg, maybe drop by the airport first. The scum's probably landing, more of them right now. Of course, they had their minions running around telling us, oh, the airport's closed, nobody's there. That was a bait and switch. It's so routine. Get over there, get the video of that, because they're desperate that we not see them going to this event because they are in there colluding and running agendas. And briefly, Aaron, you've done research on that. I mean, even the BBC admits they are setting a lot of big agendas there.
Yes, they certainly are, Alex. I mean, it's the military-industrial complex combined with the worst bankers you can imagine. Lots of the heads of the banks that we bailed out, as we later found out that the Federal Reserve gave money to foreign banks in Europe. I forget the list, but it's on record. Those are largely the Bilderberg members. So they've created this crisis. They've set themselves up to gain from it, rather. And we're seeing that unfold now, Alex.
Well, these are the people on record, and we told people this 2006, 7, and 8, that would implode the world markets through derivatives, bring in austerity. Everything we said has happened because we have the sources via Tucker. Estlin has had some sources. We have some other sources we don't talk about. But also what we see Bilderberg attendees openly pushing at Davos, the Trilateral Commission reports they put out. We know this is the top of the pyramid. Royalty, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, you name it. We'll let you get down to the lounge and get Tucker on the phone and Anderson after that if you can. Great job, Aaron Dykes, back with us in 2 hours to break down the latest developments from Bilderberg. More on the big protest Wednesday coming up and a lot of other news. Straight ahead on the other side, economic news, new military news, police state news, genetically modified cows that produce human milk. Here today, a few weeks ago, I stormed the Texas Capitol with great liberty lovers to demand that they not kill the bill that was unanimously passed by the House to stop the illegal federal 10th Amendment violating, 4th Amendment violating as well, molestation that's going on. And Rick Perry has still not put that back on the special session agenda of the Texas legislature, even though he promised that he supported the bill. Of course, he's a Bilderberg Group attendee and minion. And what do you expect? He says one thing and does another, just like all these other globalists do. Oh, we'd only be in Libya days, not weeks. Here we are 3+ months later. Well, breaking, secret Bilderberg agenda leaked by Mole via Jim Tucker. It's all up at American Free Press, Infowars.com, and the Drudge Report is linked to it as well. I'm calling for Europeans to march on the Bilderberg tyrants with a peaceful protest Saturday at high noon. This is so important to identify the real scallywags. Very exciting. 35+ years exposing these people. Jim Tucker joins us from the media lounge at the hotel just about 5 minutes away or less from Bilderberg. In fact, you can see the Bilderberg compound from where Tucker is. Jim, thank you for joining us, sir.
It's always fun.
Well, Jim, you got a lot of key intel out from your moles and sources. What is the latest that you can give us?
Well, they're extremely determined to make the war, the invasion of Libya, a big bloody war in the Middle East, which would involve every country except Israel, which is to be protected. They were saying today, according to the Inside Bilderberg boy, that they think the recession, which they are determined to continue through the year 2012, will help in this situation. Driving up the oil prices will make Americans more willing to accept a bloody war in the Middle East on the theory that it's to fight the oil cartel, which is not their part of the oil cartel. And also, you've been quite successful in getting the protesters out. It's a tribute to all Americans and to the Europeans who are here, which is mostly Europeans, of course. Once they got off their helicopters, Bilderberg boys were a little bit late because they had all these rains that kept the helicopters grounded from Paris, where they're having their cover meeting of the NATO countries, where they're, of course, immediately calling for war and enlarging the war and getting more countries involved in the war. And but they were unable to get the helicopters through the heavy rainstorms they have here. So they were late getting in. They got off their helicopters. They were stunned. They shouldn't be stunned. They should be used to it by now. To see large numbers of protesters out challenging their presence. Also, you'll be reading about how a statesman from the Swiss government had denounced Bilderberg as an invasion of their sovereignty. They should not be part of this bloody mess. And the prime minister, a nice-looking lady, I forgot her name offhand, it's hard to pronounce anyway, said, "Oh yes, she agrees. We should not be involved. We should not surrender our sovereignty." But nevertheless, she did attend the opening meeting of Bilderberg and purred about how wonderful they are. So talk about two-faced monarchs.
Was that at the front meeting they had in Paris, as they normally do, to then shuttle in? And what is this in the Swiss papers? This is breaking news.
Oh, yes. Yes, they had heavy stuff in various newspapers, including Swiss language newspapers I can't understand, but I can recognize the name Bilderberg.
Yeah, Paul Watson's able to actually read it because he knows German. It's very similar, and that's what he's telling us. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, we have several people here who did translations for us that already pulled out a lot of names, and David Rockefeller was positively identified, 100% identified by the troops, and he's about 96 years old, but he'll attend Bilderberg. The first time he doesn't attend a Bilderberg meeting will be when he's dead, which is not too far in the future. So we're accumulating an awful lot of names. I believe Bilderberg may very well surrender, as they have in the past, their official list of participants. Nevertheless, we never stop identifying as many as possible for two reasons. We may not get to this, so we'll identify as many as we can with 100% certainty. And if we do get to this, there's always names on the positively identified list that were not on their own list, trying to cover up for some reason.
Have you seen Daniel Estulin this year?
Nope. I haven't seen it at all. He used to be, he was the leading Bilderberg fighter, but he's sort of disappeared in recent years. He was up briefly last year. He was unable to reach him by his either his cell phone or his internet gizmo.
Okay, just a side note, wondering if he was there. Now, continuing, Jim, your mole inside, you, of course, broke yesterday that they want to expand the war in the Middle East. They're worried about Congress standing up against Obama going along with the war without congressional approval. They're worried about the alternative press. They want to move to try to curtail the internet, which we see Sarkozy in Europe openly pushing for in these new UN treaties. They want their carbon tax. Their program is not going well for them. What else is on the agenda? You talked about they're desperate to prop up the euro because that's their receivership arm to gobble up sub-states. Any other intel on what's on the agenda?
Not too much more to add except their continued depression, which has they've undergone for more than 15 years. Their continued obscene references to American and European patriots who protest their presence, and to the heavy hand of even the major newspapers. The Guardian of London, the Irish Times, all had very heavy stories. And they're especially intrigued by the fact that Kenneth Clark, spelled with Clark with an E, longtime member of the British Parliament, a longtime Bilderberg luminary leader, is not coming this year. The speculation is why. The answer, when it comes, will be that he's done something bad, because these international gangsters are very prissy. George Soros becomes a headline in criminal stories. He's out. He's still their good friend. They said so, but he's out. They asked Rupert Murdoch, the biggest owner of newspapers throughout the world, to try to talk the major newspapers in Europe out of covering Bilderberg. they failed miserably. Rupert Murdoch was, he may have done a little help, I don't know, but major newspapers are hitting, well, some major newspapers, but a lot of local independent newspapers and broadcasters are hitting it hard.
Well, Jim, you know The King, the #1 news website in the world, Drudge Report, is linked to our reports, the video of our interview with you, with our links to American Free Press. So it is being covered, and it is outraging. And I want to bring this up to you. MSNBC has written a whitewash, and CNBC has written a whitewash saying, oh, Bilderberg's real, but it has no power. BBC's done the same thing. So the New York Times just 3 years ago said I was delusional, that they didn't meet in Chantilly, and that I was literally having hallucinations and imagining that they were there. That's how dumb they think their readers are. What do you think of this tactic, Jim? Of course, you were there with me. What do you think of this? We were thrown out by police, but it doesn't exist. What do you think of this tactic that they're really pushing now, from going and saying it doesn't exist to saying, yes, it exists, but it doesn't have any power?
Well, that's why they want their friendly press to say when they're forced to cover something. They're just a bunch of innocent virgins who are just having a polite little meeting, and all of these conspiracy theorists have got it all wrong. Well, as I've told you so many times, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I recognize conspiracy facts. Unless Webster's dictionary is wrong, it is a conspiracy, whether you want to call it good or bad. But it's also, as you know, a violation of the Logan Act. And yet yet they persist. As you know, the Logan Act has said that public officials, federal officials, cannot meet behind closed doors with private citizens to make public policy. They can meet with each other without anybody from the outside, certainly war tactics and so forth. It's illegal. Now, apologists say, well, the Logan Act was passed in 1797.
But you got Hillary dinged for it yourself in the mid-'90s.
Yeah, she attended the Bilderberg meeting as First Lady down in Georgia, Lake Lanier. And all the staffers there, not all of them, but many of the staffers said, they were very excited, said, Hillary Clinton's here. I said, that's not possible. Oh, First Lady could not possibly be attending. Bill Clinton attended as the obscure governor of Arkansas and was elected president a year later. But no, she was definitely there. I was sure of it when I got back to Washington. And as I may have told you before, I called the White House First Lady's press office.
And you buffaloed them and said, I'm going with it, and they had to admit it after they lied to you. Yeah, we told that story. Now, Jim, a few more minutes. We appreciate your time and your incredible work. Perhaps you'll be able to pop back in with more tomorrow, and then obviously next week when you get back. You told us a few days ago Bilderberg is outraged by the coverage, outraged by the Patriot movement. Jim, do you have anything else on that?
Chester, there's more outrage, and they're saying so louder and louder. And you read the names of a lot of these turkeys, including some Americans, who have expressed their great anger at the commoners are forcing this coverage and forcing these headlines. We'll have a lot more to say about it next week. I'm looking forward to it as usual.
All right, Jim, and again, there's more tomorrow. We want to try to get you to pop in, but obviously next week. What do you think of my idea to call on all Europeans, instead of just protesting in their major capitals, the bought and paid for politician puppets, to actually go to St. Moritz Saturday at high noon from all over Switzerland, all over Europe, from France, from Germany, from Italy, from Austria, all just a few hours away, and to go there and to have a massive demonstration instead of something spontaneous like Woodstock, Liberty Stock, and this could really put another nail in Bilderberg. This could have them be completely blown wide open politically and force this into an international story, Jim. What do you think of that idea? And will you join me in calling for all patriots to be part of history and to converge right now on St. Moritz Saturday high noon?
Absolutely, I will. And you'll be glad to know that there's people over here calling for patriots in Europe and the former East Bloc countries like Romania and so forth to come here, and Poland to come here and protest.
Yes.
They're calling for it very loudly. It's in the newspapers over here, too.
Yes, because they're being raped by them. Well, it's Saturday high noon. We need to have everybody there at once. There's some other smaller protests tomorrow, but everybody needs to be part of history, get in their cars now, and get to that location. Jim Tucker, thank you so much. And please hand the phone back to Aaron Dykes or Paul Watson, Infowars.com reporters. And hopefully we can get you to pop back in for 10 minutes tomorrow with any new intel. And we'll all watch AmericanFreePress.net for the latest developments. Thank you, Jim.
Very good. Enjoyed it.
All right, enjoyed having you. Amazing. Jim Tucker was in good form there, and a really dogged reporter doing a great job with the only person who's 100% been proven to have absolute, total, multiple moles inside. I mean, he's got a Bilderberg member, he's got assistants, he's got it all. He is absolutely incredible. And time again, what he has broken down, sometimes years before, what exactly is going to happen, because these people do steer the planet. They don't totally control it. They're trying to set up an open world government to control it. Did they disconnect, or do I have Aaron Dykes? Aaron?
Here. I'm right here, Alex.
I'm going to come back to you in about a minute. But go over to Tucker, try to nail him down for like 11:08 tomorrow with you guys, if it works. If not, let's nail him down. Is Mark Anderson, also that writes for American Free Press, is he floating around there?
He's not in the immediate area, Alex. We'll have to track him down later. He may be at the hotel, actually, a few blocks away, where they've staged a press area. A lot of people have been sharing photos and information.
All right, great job, Aaron. Aaron, any other thoughts on the huge bombshells that Jim Tucker was just dropping on us?
I wasn't able to actually hear him. I was sitting a little bit away. But, of course, we're trying to find out as much as we can, Alex. I don't know what more to add at this point.
Well, Aaron, you've done a great job, so get back into the location, go watch the airport and also the hotel, and we'll talk to you coming up in the last 30 minutes of the third hour, and so that's about an hour and 45 minutes from now, or a little bit less. We'll be talking to you and Paul Watson with the latest developments, and be safe, my friend.
All right, thanks, Alex.
All right, great job to Aaron and Paul and Jim, and great job to the crew here as well, Kurt Nemo, everybody. This is amazing. Now, what I want to do is I want to go to break here in a few minutes, and I'm going to come back and cover a bunch of other news. You know what, I'm going to finish up on the big protest Saturday and some other Bilderberg news, and then I'm going to get into all of the other news that we've got here in front of us. There's just so much amazing news dealing with cows that have human genetics in their udders to produce human breast milk. We told you about this a decade ago, but now it's mainstream news. Now it's headed to your store shelves. And we've also got really positive news. Judges, federal judges, are signaling that they're going to completely overturn the Obama health care law. The LA Times and others are reporting. We've also got a lot of economic news we're going to be going over, and also military news. New York Times headline, U.S. is intensifying a secret campaign of Yemen airstrikes. I mean, they are really trying to start World War III. That's what a world war is. There's a whole bunch of countries involved in multiple regions. Central Asia, North Africa, Middle East. U.S. forces for a decade battling in Colombia over the cocaine. And the average American isn't even aware this is going on, and it's not our government, it's not our military. It's been overtaken, it's directed by these scallywags at Bilderberg, inside Bilderberg. And it is so important for everyone to be part of this mass demonstration of liberty lovers to identify the real globalists, the real problem, not their puppets in their governments, but the actual rulers. And you've got the equivalent of a member of Congress calling for Kissinger's arrest in Switzerland. You heard Jim saying it's in the papers that the prime minister is saying they don't need to be there and that it's destroying Swiss sovereignty, and other ministers calling for them to not meet there. And we've got 2 days now to get the word out via Twitter, the web, to everybody to converge on St. Moritz, high noon. We'll open the phones up for Europeans, Swiss, anybody in Western, Eastern Europe, Greece, Ireland, being affected by the open austerity moves. Now, let me explain how this works. And it's all on record. This is not my opinion. These global banksters come in, they finance the campaigns of their politicians. They set this up over decades. They come in, they get the politicians to have the country sign on to invest the pension funds in derivatives that are completely worthless, total fraud paper. And on the way up financially, the banksters then make trillions. Then on the way down, it endangers the entire economic system, everybody's pension funds, 401ks, stock market portfolio, everything. And they say in Europe and the United States, it's the same in every country, give us tens of trillions. Let us secretly give it to whoever we want. Not even Congress or Parliament can be told. And we will keep the economic order going. And then Congress in 2008 said in October, no, we're not going to do that. And so they had all the heads of the Treasury and the Federal Reserve come out and say, we're going to have a total depression, blood in the streets, everything's going to collapse. And the stock market fell by almost 1,000 points. And Congress held hostage with the financial terrorism, said, okay, we will give you a blank check. And we haven't gotten a new number in a year, so we only have 2 years of numbers for the U.S. $27 trillion was given to these people, and almost all of it is secret. Some lawsuits by Bloomberg and others found out that trillions of it went overseas. Hundreds of millions to MSNBC. The Federal Reserve itself is paying money to thousands of newspapers. They're buying people off. These are criminals. That they don't control the entire press. That's why they want to shut down talk radio with the Fairness Doctrine. They want a Fairness Doctrine for the Internet. That's been openly announced. They're now pushing it. They've got all these new cybersecurity acts they're trying to get through that have the teeth to enforce this in there. This is the takeover by the crooks. And they are meeting right now in St. Moritz. And they're so scared of you, they're not meeting in a big capital like they normally do. They are hiding out in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours from any major city, in the middle of the mountains of Switzerland. But you can get there. It's good roads. They got trains that get to very close by. They have trains that stop there. And it's the off-season, so there's plenty of hotels and things in the village available. Whatever, sleep in your car. It doesn't matter. Or drive in, get there in the morning on Saturday, have the protest, get back in your car, and drive back into the nearest city. But you got Eastern Europe to the east. You've got Western Europe to the south, to the north, and to the west. And we've got tens of millions of people all around this area. If you go to Alexa.com and other major stat systems, Google Analytics, you see that Infowars.com is rated as the 400th and something biggest website in the U.S. In some of these European countries, we're rated in the top 100. So we have listeners in Europe, a lot of them, listening over global shortwave, satellite, internet. And I want to hear from you coming up as I go through other news into the next hour. Then Catherine Albrecht is going to be joining us in the first 30 minutes of the next hour. And then we have, of course, our reporters from Bilderberg joining us in the last 30 minutes. So stay with us for that. But even if you can't go, if you live in Africa, you live in Japan, you live in China, you live in Mexico, you live in Chile, all you got to do is go to Twitter, YouTube, Google. Everybody make YouTube videos. Everybody go to Twitter. Everybody go to Facebook, YouTube. Make your own videos and say, go to St. Moritz. Go to St. Moritz. Free Humanity peacefully marches on Bilderberg. If we get 10,000 people there, it is going to be one of the biggest stories in the world. The people actually protesting the globalists instead of the puppets. And then that idea will spread. We're targeting the real enemy, the real controller. Think about how incredibly disgusting this is. You have the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Queen of the Netherlands, representatives of the Queen of England, all of these big oil company heads, the heads of the top banks in the planet, the people that have created the derivatives, the people that have bought off our politicians worldwide. 2 years ago, they came in and openly bought off the Greek government, put their president in, put their finance minister in. You look at countries all over the world, they got Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, former people in the revolving door working inside the major governments as the finance ministers, the presidents, the prime ministers, the leaders of the senates. This is how they're getting away with the corruption. This is how they get away with the rest of the world economy melting down, global depression, while these mega banks make trillions of dollars and individuals are paid billions and billions and billions in bonuses. And as the water prices are increased, so the government can, quote, pay off the debts they don't owe in Ireland and Greece increase in the United States as taxes are raised everywhere, and as the services are cut, the people are told they're cutting services for austerity to pay off the debt. But if you look at Eastern Europe, you look at Latin America, you look at Western countries that have been taken over by these people, you never get out of the debt. Because it's impossible. It's 1.5 quadrillion. It's fraudulent. That would have been like telling Germans in the Great Depression in 1932 that they had to pay off every individual family's debt of trillions of marks. You know, it took billions of marks to buy a loaf of bread. USA Today yesterday had the cover story that it's really $60+ trillion that the United States, quote, owes. Well, I'm sorry, last year the Washington Post reported the U.S. share of derivatives is $600 trillion of the 1.5 quadrillion worldwide. It's impossible to pay off. We don't owe it. It's a fraud. We are incredibly wealthy. But they've invested the police pension funds, the fire funds, the teacher funds, the private funds, everything in these systems, and now they're holding us hostage saying, give us whatever we want, cut all your benefits or you'll get nothing. That's the trick. And then we do that 3 years ago, things get worse. Now they're back saying more bailouts, more money, more unlimited trillions to Europe, or Greece will collapse and take Europe with it. It won't take Greece and Europe with it, and then America. It will take the bankers with it. And you watch, they're going to have trillions more in, quote, bailouts that are really just blood money paid to these criminals, and they'll be back in a couple more years for more. And the deeper the depression gets, they'll say, cut, pay us everything and we'll fix it. Then you cut, pay them everything, and it only gets worse. I mean, here's Obama. And we told you a week ago this was going to happen, that at Bilderberg they were going to get trillions more. And Obama is pressing the Germans and others to bail out, it's not a bailout, to give trillions more, including U.S. taxpayer money and German and French and other money, to, quote, save Greece or it'll pull down Europe. The debt, over 90% of it, is created by the bankers. They just get government to sign on to the debt and promise to bail it out. Then they turn around and say, this is your debt, you've got to pay it, and we're going to cut your pension fund. We're going to cut your Social Security that you paid into. Now, I'm not a fan of people being dependent. I'm not a fan of the socialist model because I know it was created by the banksters on record to get you dependent so they could then hold you hostage and control the entire system and have everything under federal systems that tie into the world government. But here's Obama, and we told you this was coming. Obama presses Europe, pledges help for Greek crisis. They've already had 3 rounds of bailouts there. Greece has lost its credit rating, just like Moody's and Standard & Poor's says the U.S. is. So it's more. The more you pay the bankers, the more you owe them. Because when our countries create $1 to bail someone out, $1 of debt is created to the very bankers that we're bailing out. It's like a snake eating its tail. The fraud is so huge and so simple, it makes it complex, and people can't see it. It's us or them. It's us or them, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming back with more coverage. Stay with us. Minutes into hour number 2 of this worldwide transmission. I want to give the number out for Europeans, people going under the debt austerity of the banksters, who on record, our own government admits, engaged in crimes, creating 1.5 quadrillion in derivatives, and now we've got to, quote, bail them out and have them make record profits, or they threaten to implode the rest of our economy because, like Siamese twins, they have woven all of our currency and our infrastructure and our investments into their system, and they're holding us hostage. The issue is, though, they want austerity. They want to make us poor so we can be politically controlled. Bilderberg has admitted that. These globalists use poverty as a tool. So if you give in to their hostage-taking economically, if you give in to their economic terrorism, they then just bring you step by step into deeper and deeper bondage. So all we can do is say, go ahead, give us the depression, slam everything down, we're going to arrest every single one of you. Believe me, if our governments started doing the right thing and indicting these people, even Rolling Stone 2 weeks ago said the Senate committee has found total crime by these big mega banks. Where are the indictments? Where are they? Arrest them all. It's us or them. They own both major parties in every major country. It's us or them. Their crimes are legion. Their crimes are open. And now Obama is saying, oh, Germany and others don't want to give trillions more, but America is. They don't want to give trillions more to the bankers. It's not really a banker bailout. It's giving it to them, or they'll hold Europe hostage and suck us down with it. And he's saying he's pressing Europe to pony up along with the U.S. with more tax money that goes directly to these mega banks that engineered all this. And his entire administration is Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan. The entire stinking thing. I mean, this is incredible. And they own Romney, of Romney Care, the model for Obamacare. A lot of Republicans don't care. You know what? As long as it's a white guy, and as long, you know what, they don't care if he's anti-gun either. They kind of like it. Well, I'm not one of you mainline Republican idiots. That's all I have to say. And a lot of Americans are waking up to what's going on and waking up to what's happening and figuring things out. Now, the media is trying to ignore Ron Paul. Well, you can ignore Ron Paul all day. He's getting the word out and the people are listening, and you're losing more and more credibility, mainstream media. You're not going to be mainstream very long. You're becoming a joke. And we've broken the electronic Berlin Wall, the news blackout on Bilderberg 2011, the top 2 reports on drudgereport.com right now. Bomb scare shuts down road to Bilderberg meeting, and they used that as a foil to basically shut things down so we couldn't get video of their faces, but not before we got the head of NATO, Bill Gates, and others. Also, secret agenda leaked by Mole. I want to go over some of that secret agenda later in the hour. That's really our biggest news. And, of course, we're calling for a giant protest. People all over Europe who've come out in the millions against tyranny and the austerity. These are the people that did it, with the 40-something% unemployment in many European countries now and people under 30, the 20+% unemployment in the general public. These are the people. These are the people that raise your taxes, where the average European pays over 70% in taxes. These are the people that are openly have their banking heads, the treasury heads, the exchequer of England, all of them, former heads like Alan Greenspan, all out saying we need to raise your taxes. Warren Buffett, who got hundreds of billions of your bailout money, your money, he says raise taxes on the rich. Meanwhile, he's exempt from it. Fortune 500 pay on average 2.4% taxes. They're globalists. They're international. They've exempted themselves from the law. Oh, we need to help the poor. Remember the carbon tax 2 years ago in Copenhagen, and the treaty got leaked? They wouldn't release the treaty, but the third world countries leaked the treaty. And the Danes released the treaty, and it had right at, not exactly double, but right at 1 point away from double the carbon taxes on the third world that the West had to have. See, they sold to the third world, hey, Africans, hey, Latin Americans, hey, Asians, you're going to get bailout money. You're going to get all this money from rich, fat Americans who are greedy and have a high standard of living. And, boy, they bellied up to the bar and said, you bet we're ready to sign this. And they got the treaty, and they said, what? And the bankers want to kill the third world. They're a bunch of eugenicists who openly write books calling black people animals. Of course they want to cut off all your energy. It's always been the globalist Western plan by the elites to stop development in the third world. That's in the British 1949 Royal Commission on Population, where they said, if we industrialize the third world, they will not overpopulate. From their perspective, they will then, though, be rivals to us, and we won't have hegemonic control. Instead, we'll keep them in the Dark Ages, in the Stone Ages, but it will make them then have giant populations because poor people have more kids on average. So how do we deal with that? Well, then we come in behind that with Planned Parenthood and sterilizations and forced abortions, and pay India and pay Peru and pay African countries on record to forcefully grab women and sterilize them. We're going to keep you poor, not let you industrialize, and do our best to kill you. Keep you from having babies. I mean, these people are sick. They are sick, and they are the enemies of humanity. So if you want to do something historical, people are like, oh, it won't do anything. Oh, yes, it will. Look how far we've come. As I told you 10 years ago, we're pushing and pushing and making Bilderberg come out in mainstream news to identify the real global controllers of this planet. The real global controllers of this planet. Once you identify them, then you're not looking at Obama or Bush or Perry or Sarkozy or Barroso. You're looking at the real owners, those 10 to 8 families you can debate, but we've written and posted detailed analysis at Infowars.com of the 8 ruling families. It's in the 4 Horsemen of the New World Order piece that was up there last week. And they can only get away with this if they're hidden. That's why they go to such lengths to build a tunnel for hundreds of yards for them to drive into white walls so nobody can get video of them in St. Moritz, Switzerland. That's why they're shutting down the road. That's why you heard from inside Bilderberg sources, Rupert Murdoch was asked by Bilderberg to please talk to all the newspaper and media people he knows and ask them not to cover this here in the U.S., but they have to cover it because we're covering it and the Drudge Report's covering it. And now it's one of the biggest news items in the world. And it's only going to get bigger when you in Europe, who are a few hours away, hop a train and get in there. And all you got to do is sit there and chant, down with tyranny, down with Bilderberg. And as you're driving on your cell phone in your car or on the train, call local media and tell them to be there. And it's going to be an absolute fiasco for the Bilderberg group. What did Brzezinski say last year? He says, for the first time in human history, humanity is awake and staring. No longer are they able to be manipulated politically. They understand the ruling class. The Federal Reserve, just 5-6 years ago, maybe 5% of Americans knew it was private, knew it was a big scam, was bankrupting our country. For $1 to be created, $1 of debt is created and given to them out of nothing. They knew this. They understood this. And now I've seen the Gallup polls. 3 years ago when Ron Paul was exposing it on the national platform and being demonized, it was upwards of 75%. A year ago, it was 80%. I've seen major scientific polls, 85 and higher of Americans want to abolish the Fed, audit the Fed, and know they're the enemy. And the banksters are going, oops, they're not looking at our marionettes. Remember the old Bill Hicks line? Hey, I like the puppet on the left. Hey, I like the puppet on the right. And one guy goes, hey, there's one guy holding both puppets. When humanity reaches that point, and it has, but everyone still feels like we're alone, we're the minority. No, we're not. No, we're not. You aren't public figures. You aren't known. You aren't recognized. I cannot walk down the street anywhere. I cannot go in a 7-Eleven. I cannot go to a shopping mall. I cannot go to a Target. I cannot go anywhere. Years ago, I'd walk by 50 people and 2 groups would stop. Now, I walk by a group of 50 people, I get mobbed, and I can't even get out of there because they all want to take photos and shake my hand, and then it builds up because people have that thing that they're kind of scared to get outside their bubble, but once they see people talking to me, then they come over, and it's great to talk to you. I've just got somewhere to go. Again, I'm not bragging, ooh, look, Alex is a celebrity. The point is, I'm somebody who can uniquely tell you that the awakening is much bigger than you've known. I just got chills. It's much bigger. We can beat these people. But you, if you're listening, cannot count on somebody else to go if you're in Europe or if you're in England or you're in Ireland. You have got to get on a plane. What is it? I mean, 100 pounds to fly in there from England, Watson told me, because I paid for it. Well, Ted Anderson did. He paid us when we're paying for the trip. 100 pounds to fly in there. A train ride, the equivalent maybe 20, 30 euros for a 2-hour train ride directly there. You got the money. Or get it from your uncle, or get it from your son. Get there, get there, get there, get there, get there. Stand with other liberty lovers. Stand up against tyranny. Now, the video that breaks this down, and then I'm going to your calls when we come back from break, 1-800-259-9231. People all over Europe, dial your country code extension, 800-259-9231. I know some folks can't call a 1-800 number from Europe, or you can just call us on Skype then, 800-259-9231. I want to hear from you. Are you planning to be there? Or what's your view on what we're saying? Here's the headlines. Breaking, secret Bilderberg agenda leaked by Mole. Kurt Nimmo, so key, top linked on Drudge. Whitewashes in CNBC. Friends in high places, Bilderberg 2011 kicks off. Forced to cover it. They hate this. Europe marches on Bilderberg tyrants. That's the name of the InfoWars article that has the 8-minute video I shot last night that's well-produced. Dew stayed up here late last night to get it out. That needs to go mega viral to everyone. I'm going to put it out on my Twitter. Please get this out and then retweet it to everyone you know at twitter.com, Real Alex Jones, or go to Infowars.com. It's red-linked. Europe marches on Bilderberg tyrants. Europe marches. Protesters march. It's on. It's on. Game up. Here's another headline that has the same breakdown of the protest itself. Alex Jones calls for global Bilderberg protest. Get it out to everyone you know. Be part of history. Don't many years from now wish you'd have been part of this. Don't wish later that we weren't defeated by these murdering neo-Nazi control freaks. Get involved now. The light of publicity will destroy them like vampires at high noon. Peacefully march on them. Parasites, the social vampires, the economic ringwraiths, the Nosferatus, are perched in St. Moritz, Switzerland right now, going to great lengths to not be seen, engaged in their skullduggery as they plan the next country they're going to bring down and the next war they're going to launch. And we're taking your calls right now ahead of a bunch of other key news. Matt in England and Joseph in Germany, Paul in Ireland. The toll-free number to join us from Europe, 800-259-9231. Matt in England, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say, first of all, to all UK info warriors that are listening to your show now, get to St. Moritz. Get there as fast as you can, if you can. Borrow the money and get there and shout out, because this affects this country as well. I mean, Alex, you've covered a lot of things. I've just been listening to your sensational outburst there, mentioning the agendas that affect us all, really, all over the world. You know, higher interest rates. I reckon that's their policies that they're going to set their agendas to. High interest rates. Chemtrails, I reckon they're going to enforce that even more.
Oh, yeah, the CFR's called for more geoengineering. They publicly admit they're chemtrailing. Then if you tell the public, they laugh at you. They're changing the atmosphere. And over 70%, Moncton says it's 87% now, of your laws are made by the unelected EU board, controlled and chaired by Bilderberg minions. I mean, Rumpy and Barroso are there right now getting their orders from the sinister royalty. This is so disgusting. So go face down the real enemy peacefully. Draw attention to them.
And, I mean, also, you know, I think the other agenda that they're going to enforce is a more rise in gas and petrol over here, gas in America. Another thing is, I don't know if you've seen the video on YouTube. There's a video going out from the BBC, or a disinfo goon, obviously from the BBC, and did the interview, where he mentions truthers as mentally unstable. I don't know if it's in the video or not.
Who is that? What's his name?
I don't know who it is. It was just been sent here about maybe half an hour ago. I haven't really watched all the way through it, but basically, an interview from the BBC, and this guy sounds like a disinfo goon, and basically mentioning that all people believe 9/11 is an inside job are mentally unstable.
Well, that's what they're saying. If you don't believe in global warming, you should be arrested. That's openly called for in the British Parliament now. Very, very dangerous. These are tyrants. Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, if you don't believe Weiner when he blamed Andrew Breitbart for making up the photo and hacking his site, turns out it was a total lie. But still, you got to believe Weiner or you're mentally ill. In fact, I'm going to be establishment. Weiner told the truth. Breitbart is bad. And Bill Clinton didn't lie. That's right. And we're supposed to believe what they say. Joseph in Germany, you're on the air. Welcome from Deutschland.
Hello, Alex Jones. Thank you very much. I want to say the people from Germany are awake. There are awake people here in Germany. And we are going to the Bilderberg meeting. And if anyone wants to join us, we're a group. You can just... Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you.
Yeah. There's a group of us going. If you want to join us, just email at bilderberg2011@googlemail.com. Else, I have some information. They have been hyping another false flag terror attack here in Germany. The 26th of June, it's the starting of the Women's Soccer World League.
Yeah, they hype up that every event's going to be struck, so they have an excuse to stick their hands down your pants and train you for concentration camp living. You know, Germany per capita has paid even more money than the U.S. to these private bankers as bailouts, and now Obama is trying to order Merkel to give even more of your tax money to the bankers in the name of saving the EU. And I've seen polls of over 80% of Germans are outraged by this, and Merkel almost lost her seat in the last parliamentary run. What are the Germans' average view of these banker Nosferatus?
Well, the Germans are very upset, as you said, and the Germans feel like the German government is just like the horse, like pushing and working for the whole of Europe, paying for Spain, paying for Greece, paying for everyone, and people people honestly don't like it, as you said. And another information I have is that what the globalists want to do in the Middle East, what they want to do in Pakistan is to take out the nuclear weapons of Pakistan, so then they can start their big war there. Well, and they, Mr. Webster Topley already said that the U.S. was going to help them to guard their nuclear facilities.
Yeah, and that means, quote, take it over and have a coup. Joseph from Germany, you're planning to be there for the high noon protest on Saturday in St. Moritz?
This Saturday, yes.
Bring everybody you can and spread the word to everyone. Good job. We salute you from the United States in Germany, Joseph. All free humans who stand against tyranny need to be there. We'll be right back. Point this out. That growing up, you know, you're taught in school and college that third worlders are a bunch of idiot savages, basically. I mean, it's done with a velvet glove, but, oh, those people, they just can't get themselves together. And well, that's not what's going on. The colonial areas of Latin America, Africa, and Southern Asia and other areas have been overrun by the more advanced technological militaries of the West repeatedly in the last 300 years. And systems of tyranny are put in. And then in the last 100 years, and this is mainline history if you research it, this is not my opinion, and major white papers were written by the British government, the U.S. government deployed gunboat diplomacy, where they would give a dictator or give a thug, say in Venezuela or Guatemala, this goes back over 100 years, the U.S., they give him a $20 million loan. And openly it would come out, tell them, don't pay this back, leave in 1 year with the money to Switzerland or to New York. That's why you have a lot of Mexican presidents actually move to New York after they steal a bunch of money. Just a few decades ago that happened, or in the mid-90s. So it's the same system. Or they go to Switzerland. That's kind of the place where they nest, and it's a free zone they allow. And so, and then the public's told, well, with interest, it's been 10 years. You don't owe us $20 million in 1905. You owe us $300 million. And the country says, you know, back then, that was before the inflation we have. It was the equivalent of $300 billion or something. They said, we don't even make that in 20 years. We can't pay it. Oh, that's fine. From the shores of Montezuma, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And the Marine Corps top general, two-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner, Smedley Butler, finally quit and went public and said, look, it's all about money. These people don't owe it. We invade them. And that's what's now happening here in America. And then I'm going to your calls. That's what's now happening here and happening to Europe. And the bankers said in the 2002 IMF World Bank documents, they were going to do what they've done in the third world to us. There's a reason the third world has, you go to major cities in the third world, hundreds of thousands of homeless people and starvation and corrupt police and death and degradation. It's because it's the globalist policy on record in the IMF World Bank documents that BBC was forced to cover to create a system, to get them in debt through fraud, and then never let them get out of it. They want you to be poor. Now, that's why I get so angry at these people. They are assaulting me with high taxes. They are assaulting us with carbon taxes. They are assaulting us with government minders and secret police and spies. I know history. I know what happened in East Germany. I'm angry about this. I don't want to be a slave because I'm not going to survive in that environment. Some corrupt cop gets in my face, starts bossing me around, folks, I go crazy. I'm not a slave. I'm red-blooded. Okay? Just like my ancestors. I'm not putting up with this. I want to fix it peacefully, but I'm not going to go along with this. Do you understand? These people are crooks on record. And they've got this Svengali mesmerized hoax running on people. We got to break the hoax, break the chains, wake up, break the mental block, see them for what they are, and get transparency in government back, have our governments control our money and currency, and take these mega bankers to prison. And you better know I'm risking my life coming straight at them and saying, go protest them en masse, as I direct here from my command base. Get over there, get in their face. Get over there and peacefully expose who they are. All right, I'm going to stop ranting. I'm going to stop ranting. Let's go to Peter in Switzerland, then Paul, Nick, John, and others. We got calls in Ireland, Switzerland, Italy, you name it, Scotland. Let's go to Peter in beautiful Switzerland. Peter, where are you, and what's your view on this?
Yeah, hi, Alex. I'm in Zug, Switzerland, and I need to give you some information. During the World Economic Forums in Davos, there are usually these anti-World Economic Forum groups that try and get on the trains from Kur going up to Davos, and it's a special train. It's called the Rettesebahn, and this is the same train that goes to St. Moritz. And I just let you know that they either suspend the train service or they control everyone in Kur an hour and a half away before they get on the trains.
Yeah, you've got to, in fact, I've seen that, and it's on record that the socialists that are going to be there tomorrow openly are financed by the Bilderberg Group to then make anybody who's anti-Bilderberg look like a communist. That's why and they do it everywhere, we've got to have real people who aren't camp-following useful idiots there. Use car. That's why you got 2 days. Leave now. Get there early. Don't wait, because we need folks to mass there. That's why they're hiding out. They're sucking Europe and the rest of the world dry right now, and that's why they're hiding out in St. Moritz. So are you an American or a Canadian living in Switzerland?
Dual citizen. I'm a Swiss citizen, also an American, and trying to get down there, I think, is really going to be a challenge this weekend.
I tell you, the Swiss are great people. That's why they've got so much wealth, and everybody's got guns, and they got bunkers for the entire population. You know, the Amish are made up of what? Germans, Swiss, and Dutch, great people. And I see a lot of top Swiss politicians, your prime minister, one of your the equivalent of one of your Congress people, calling for some of the Bilderberg people's arrest. And we've confirmed that's all over your papers. That's pretty exciting. What are the Swiss saying about these vampires nesting, roosting in St. Moritz?
People know about it. I mean, a lot of the Swiss I work with are very much aware of it. And the Swiss papers have actually been very good covering this event. But again, what I say is the Swiss know how to handle security. And my fear is that they will be preventing people from getting on the trains already 2 hours from the destination.
Okay, but I mean, that's only... I mean, is that all the time, or have they just suspended the trains, period, for their lordships?
No, they've done this during the World Economic Forum, that the trains leave from Kur, and those trains went to Davos, and they either suspended the trains or they controlled people before they even got on the trains. And they're probably going to do the same thing heading down to St. Moritz.
And by controlling them at the choke point, you mean they don't let you on the train?
Correct.
Well, again, that's because they're scared of the protests. They're scared of the eye of the public brought to the mountain of Mordor so we can see the eye of Sauron sitting up there. We've got to march on Mordor, and it's going to be so historical. I wish I could be there, but I'm a man of my word. I told talkers 6 months ago I'd be their keynote speaker, and then a few weeks ago I was thinking about trying to go and be there Wednesday, Thursday, and then fly back Friday, but I could have missed my keynote speech, which is in the morning, at Talkers, so I'm going to be in New York. I'll fly out tomorrow. I wish I could be there, and I've been in a lot of demonstrations. I love them, but folks, this is going to be important. This is going to draw massive attention to what's going on. What do you suggest as somebody from Switzerland, sir? What do you suggest we do to circumvent? Because there are good roads in there. That's how Aaron and Paul drove in from Zurich.
Yes, I suggest they may have to go to a staging area and walk or take public buses or something. I don't know, but I know from the anti-VEF experience that they've actually controlled the trains. So people have to be aware of that. Maybe you have to go pretending that you're planning to go on a hike or something, and demonstrate that you're or pretend that you're not going there to demonstrate.
Now, again, the Swiss have some of the best rights in the world, but the outsiders don't, and that's the way it's supposed to be in a sovereign country, so I can't actually say it's bad. But that's why it's important for Swiss to go, because they can't, from what I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, they can't stop a Swiss citizen from getting on that train, can they?
Actually, though, they have. They have stopped Swiss citizens if they were planning to protest, yes.
But the Swiss have got some of the strongest protest rights anywhere. That they need to file complaints if that happens. That's outrageous that Swiss would have their right of travel blocked for a bunch of outlying Auslanders coming in there.
Well, I got to tell you, in many ways, this is a very secure place, and security trumps pretty much everything else.
Well, they're not going to stop people from this quest, and we've got maps up on the site. I mean, they're not going to be able to stop French driving in, Germans driving in, Italians driving in. That's why, if you're listening, folks, you've got to go. And regardless, shoot video of them stopping you at the train. Upload it to YouTube. Everyone listening should upload to U.S. and European YouTube. They're trying to block everybody so you can't watch American YouTubes and we can't watch European. They don't want us to get together. They want to geolocate, and they admittedly are trying to go after alternative press. They're changing the algorithms. By the way, there's no doubt our term Bilderberg protest would have hit #1 yesterday. There is no doubt they've now created a catalog of names, because classic anti-globalist names don't work now when we do it. Only weird search terms that then link to articles we've written work. So they're, again, the head of Google goes every year. They are desperate to keep us from knowing they're there, knowing who's there, or protesting. Why is that, Peter?
Well, I think these are the elites, and they have their own agenda. And what I don't understand is why are people giving in to their agenda? Why do governments give in to this agenda?
Because he who has the gold makes the rule, and even though they're criminals, they literally control trillions, and they've bought and paid for almost everybody while we were asleep. And now they're so arrogant, they're burning down society to consolidate it, and that's why they're hiding out in a rural area. They normally go to very big resorts right on the beach, but now the protests are so huge all over Europe, they are literally hiding, and that's why we must rout them out, and by God, we will. So you're going to be going there, aren't you, Peter?
I will be trying to get down there, yes. And I'll find alternative ways to get in there if I have to.
God bless you. We're going to be talking to him. We'll cover the aftermath, of course, the next week as well. Thank you so much, Peter. Great job. Folks, you know this is important. March on tyranny peacefully. Let's go ahead and talk to Nick in Italy, also bordering Switzerland. Nick, where are you in Italy?
Yeah, how you doing, Alex? I'm actually in the city of Bologna, which you mentioned so many times about the Bologna bombing. So as a native of the city, I'd like to thank you for being the only American media personality to actually mention that.
What, did our government bomb you to blame it on their enemies? Yeah, we're very sorry.
Yeah, 85 died, 300 people were injured in that, and some of those guys are actually over there in St. Moritz partying it up. And, you know, I was born about 9.5 months after that event, so, and my parents were there. We're very close. So, I mean, that's something, every time you mention it, you know, I get a bit emotional about it because it's very, very close to me. So I want to just tell American folks how close this thing is to me. And what these guys are doing is just criminal. There's no other words for it. Second of all, you mentioned Asia. Now that there's going to be a lot of election coming up in Asia. They just had it in Burma. They're going to be in Thailand. And they were pushing one big thing. In 2015, they will have something called the EAC, the Asian Economic Community. Does that sound familiar? The EEC, the European Economic Community, we have the same thing.
Yeah, they're already signing deals, merging them. Now, I'm going from memory, but where is Bologna? How long will it take you to get into Switzerland?
I think to the border is about 300 to 400 kilometers because you have to go past Milan and then past the Alps Mountains, and then you have to go to St. Moritz. I mean, I might have a chance to go. I may actually have to pull some strings, but I'm going to really try hard to get there because I wanted to go a few years ago when they had it in the island of Stresa.
Look, you got to go. 20 years from now, if these people win, you are going to gnash your teeth wishing you'd gone. Please go. Do whatever you have to. Everybody, go. I mean, it's so important. As you said, the same globalist almost killed your parents with that stage bombing in Bologna, and now declassified. The Italian government admits it with NATO and U.S. intelligence, a bunch of bombings to be blamed on political enemies there and false flags. You've got to go. Every person that goes is so important. God bless you. Good to hear from you from Italy. Let's talk to Paul in Ireland and John in Scotland. Paul, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
The first thing I'd like to say is that this country, Ireland, very soon is going to collapse. And many people are aware that there's a very grave situation. The vast majority, I think, are still clueless as to what is the solution.
Well, you notice you were the fastest-growing winner until you signed on to the euro, and suddenly they imploded you because that euro treaty was the agreement to go under their receivership. You've been economically conquered, but I've seen it in your Irish Times. Your people, it seems, do know what's happening. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, the people were bullied into voting for these treaties. and finally they bite the bait because money is so many.
Yeah, they voted no the first time. Yeah.
What Gerald Celente said yesterday is absolutely correct and applies to this country. That direct democracy now is the only answer. I contacted yesterday the founder of the Direct Democracy Ireland, and told him about your program, that to listen to Gerald Celente, because the government we have here, going back to Brian Cowen's government, Cowen's approach with the bankers, with the bailouts, was basically like when you're attacked by a mugger who says, "Give me all your money or I'll shoot you." Well, Brian Cowen, as Prime Minister, was the kind of man who would hand over the wallet and give everything. Now that we have a new government, the policy of the new government of Enda Kenny is to make a deal with the mugger and pay by installments. You're going to lose everything either way.
What did the Irish think of a few months ago, the head of your central bank saying, it's good for Ireland to be run by foreign banks. We're going under foreign banks' control. I mean, it was just a total statement of treason out in the open.
Unfortunately, the people have been so brainwashed with what Colonel Robert Hickson of U.S. Army Intelligence called perception management, as he said in one of his talks. Perception management, as we called it in the CIA. If you mention Bilderberg on talk radio in this country, you get dismissed as a lunatic. And
you know why? Because for 50 years they said it didn't exist, and now there it is. They say, okay, it's no big deal, but you're still crazy if you don't like it. But we shut down whole countries for them to meet, but they have no power.
We're being shut down here. We were told that by privatizing our trash collection, that is going to save money. Well, it's saving for the county. But now I'm burdened with a crushing fee to pay every time my trash is collected. And they tell us they have schemes they're going to put us on to help save us money.
It's horrible, my friend. I understand it's the austerity, it's the scam. Thank you so much, John in Scotland and others. Straight ahead, if you want to join us from Europe, 651-695-7777 is the international line, 651-695-7777. Dial your U.S. access code. We'll be back. Reports live from Bilderberg. Got a call from Saudi Arabia, but let's go to John in Scotland first. John, and we got Garth in Norway, and I got a guest coming up. Man, I need to get to these people. John in Scotland, you're on the air.
Alex, good afternoon to you from sunny Scotland. You mentioned that the bankers weren't even hiding it. I'm going to read you something from today's Scottish Daily Mail newspaper.
Yes, sir.
And it's a quote from an admission from Chief Executive Stephen Hester, who's the Chief Executive of the Royal Bank of Scotland, who received in 2008 the biggest bailout in UK history of £45 billion, which is about $70 billion. Chief Executive Stephen Hester provoked a furious reaction when he said there may have been some leakage from taxpayer funds to his senior staff's bonus pool. More than 100 senior executives at the state-owned bank pocketed $1 million plus salaries last year, and an additional 323 key staff sharing $375 million.
Yeah, I've seen that. It is just wall-to-wall, absolute, total corruption. What is your view of the protests we're calling for against the Bilderberg Group?
It's interesting because the normal guy in my street who pays his mortgage and has his kids has no idea this is going on.
Well, sir, it's up to us, like Paul Revere, to warn them. It isn't the British that are coming. It's the New World Order, pot-bellied, parasite vampires. And we need to have that demonstration. We'll talk to Saudi Arabia and Norway. 2011 coverage, everything is coming to a head. New wars in Yemen, imploding stock markets, it's all coming up. Genetically modified cows that are part human that produce female breast milk, human breast milk. We're going to break it down. Catherine Albrecht joining us, our reporter from Bilderberg. Let's jam in two in this short segment. Gareth and then the other caller from Saudi Arabia. Gareth, you're on the air from Norway. Welcome. What's your view on demonstrating against the Bilderberg Group in St. Moritz?
I'm not going to make it there, but yeah, I hope a lot of people do, man. I hope a lot of people make it there. That's my view on it, and just protest it. It's out of control, basically.
What do folks in Norway think of this whole banking takeover?
The media here is just, out of control, man. They are so controlled. It's out of control. You know what I mean? Like today, I just saw on the front page of one of the biggest papers, they're pushing the whole Gaddafi and his soldiers with Viagra again. Like today on the front page. It's like,
yeah, that's back in the Fox News is reporting he has rape gangs with Viagra, even though 3 weeks ago the State Department admitted that was totally not true.
Yeah, of course, man. The current Prime Minister in this country has been at Bilderberg. I can't remember which year. He's confirmed being at Bilderberg. And his father, Torvald Stoltenberg, he's been many times, man. And this guy, look, I just realized because I went to a Bilderberger meeting last night with one of the only independent net news web pages in this country. It was like a meeting just about Bilderberger. There was about 30 people there. It was really interesting. Wow, I really just realized how influential this guy is and how scary he is, man. Like it's this. I mean, I swear, man, this country is like a guinea pig for the New World Order, man. It's so technological, the control grid they have in place here, man. Like it's
absolutely.
Really,
but listen, 10 years ago, a year ago, there wouldn't be 30 people meeting in your town in Norway to discuss the real rulers of this planet. That's the beginning of the end for these people. They miscalculated. They're going to lose. Good job, Gareth. Tabit calling us from Saudi Arabia. You're on the air. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Alex. I've been a long time listener. And I admire your work exposing the true conspiracy on this world. I can tell you that I've seen almost every documentary you've made, and I've also translated some to Arabic.
Thank you.
You see, I just want to convey the Arab people thoughts about these revolutions that are happening across the Arab world.
Okay.
It's obviously a staged revolutions, staged events for secret agendas. You see, what happened in Egypt was simply a military coup. What's happened in Tunisia has devastated Tunisia and Egypt. In Yemen, you see killings and signs of regime change, other countries interfering with Yemen's policies. In Syria, you see massacres happening, ganged groups attacking civilians. So it's basically a war on the Arab world as we Arabs see it.
It's a destabilization, and then after everybody riots, they can put in their people. Same thing with Muammar Gaddafi. And I'm telling you, Saudi Arabia is next. And this is what the Bilderberg Group is discussing. Please help us, even though you can't obviously be there. Help us spread the word worldwide through social networks for everybody who can in Europe to be at the demonstration against the Bilderberg thugs Saturday high noon in St. Moritz there in Switzerland. And thank you, sir. Hopefully you'll call back again. In fact, I want to have shows more in the future where for an hour or two, maybe once a week, we just take calls from certain regions of the world. Check in with Latin America, Asia, the Middle East, Europe, Russia, Canada. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, as we globally get the word out about the tyrants that are in and 11. We're joined by Paul Joseph Watson, who is right outside the Global Elite meeting place in St. Moritz, Switzerland. These are the people, the heads of the global mega banks, British, Dutch royalty, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, attending. We have more of their inside agenda that we're going to be going over here. And this is so important because these are the people that control the parliaments, control the leadership of our Congress, our House and Senate. They're the folks, we've gotten their minutes from decades ago, how they covertly set up the euro, how they sold government's derivatives to implode them. They're the people that want the carbon taxes to shut down in the industrial societies. These are the bad guys, my friends. And now Obama has pledged, as we told you weeks ago from our Bilderberg sources, he would do trillions more to, quote, bail out Greece. That means give the private banks that made the derivative fraud and got government to get involved with it. That means giving the mega banks that are making record profits more of our tax money. We've seen a lot of big developments the last few days at Bilderberg. And joining us to go over those developments is Paul Joseph Watson of Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and, of course, Aaron Dykes, also working in our operation there. Paul Watson, you've got the floor. Break down the spectrum of reportage.
Hello, Alex. Good to be back. Yeah, one thing that I failed to mention earlier was the fact that quite early on in proceedings this morning, there was an activist, I think he was associated with We Are Change Switzerland, who spray-painted graffiti on the road that led up to the entrance to the Bilderberg Hotel. And he basically spray-painted things like, you know, "You're not welcome in Switzerland, get out, Bilderberg scum," things like that. And obviously he was approached by the police, but because the spray paint that he was using could easily wash off, and in fact it did later wash off with a constant rain, they didn't arrest him or detain him, so he had a pretty long conversation with the police, but eventually they just had to walk away because of this technicality in the law. So a lot of Bilderberg members arrived to this message of, you know, get out of Switzerland, Bilderberg scum, New World Order scum, so that was a nice welcome for them.
Going over the incredible information that Tucker has now released, more of their agenda, and we've looked it up, it is in the Swiss papers. The Prime Minister is saying that it's not good to have them there and that the Bilderberg group wants to destroy their sovereignty. We have the equivalent of one of their top congressmen saying arrest Henry Kissinger because there's arrest warrants out for him out of France and other areas. We also have other government leaders saying they don't want them there. So very exciting things happening. There's a lot more in the agenda. They want to have a larger war in the Middle East, and we're going to go over some of that in a moment. But breaking down the fake bomb scare today and other things that are happening, this report that a Bilderberg person flew into the airport and then had some type of medical emergency. Paul, cover the waterfront for us.
Well, the fake bomb scare obviously occurred when we had left our car at the top of the hill and walked down to the bottom to get some better shots of the cars as they were arriving. Then Aaron went back up to the top of the hill and the road was blocked, and he was told that there had been a bomb scare involving some tubing that the police had found and that they had arrested 2 people. So it took about an hour before the blockade was lifted, which was, you know, the blockade itself was very brief, which led us to believe, and other people that we've spoken to agree, or the journalists, that this was because a very important official was arriving at that time and they wanted to widen the security area to make sure that, you know, that elitist wasn't bothered, because the whole thing was lifted so quickly that it was obviously a spur-of-the-moment thing. And
let me stop you, because this needs to be added to our report that's one of the top links up on Drudge. You're telling me, was this from the police who told you it was the bomb scare? I know that's on video. But specifically that they say they did make arrest for tubing? I mean, that's huge news. Arrest made at Bilderberg for supposed pipe bombs? Is that what you're saying?
We were told by other journalists that 2 people had been arrested. We can't confirm that, and there was no information as to their identity, but that was what numerous people who were there at the time said. So we don't know for sure whether that's true, but that's what was circulating at the time.
Well, we'll call the police station. Continuing with other things that are unfolding, what do you think is most striking from Tucker's moles that we've learned that's on the agenda? Wanting to keep the depression going, I think, is the big one. Wanting to have a World War III event in the Middle East. This is huge.
Yeah, just before I get onto that, one final point on those arrests. There were several people who told us that these 2 individuals who were arrested had previously had no affiliation with the journalists who were there the day before. So it seems that these 2 individuals were unknown to everyone else who was there on the scene. So that obviously brings up the possibility that they were provocateurs. But
well, we saw that happen in 2008 in Chantilly with Obama and Hillary meeting secretly, and that was later confirmed they were there. That they had this guy with a video camera videotaping all of us, acting like a cop. Then he got, quote, busted for a gun, and they showed the media this, and then they let him go. I mean, come on. And again, this is all part of a way to demonize in front of the other cops that see protesting as bad.
Yeah, we couldn't confirm those 2 arrests, but the police chief told Aaron directly that there was a bomb scare, so that is 100% confirmed. Getting on to what Tucker found out about the agenda, obviously covered in Kurt Nimmo's article, which is on Infowars.com, is the fact that they're outraged, and this was the familiar theme at last year's conference, about the fact that they're getting increasing amounts of scrutiny from the alternative media and the Patriot movement. I was talking to Tucker about an hour ago, and he was telling me that one of the reasons they want to prolong the recession, and it's obviously not the only reason, was that they want to keep the middle class down. They want to keep the bums, low down, so they can't afford to travel and they can't afford to focus on Bilderberg because they're too concerned about putting food on the table. So similar to what they said last year about, their disgust at people who are actually able to afford to travel to these different countries in which they meet. That was another familiar theme coming out today, according to Jim Tucker.
Well, that before we continue, that's what austerity is. That's what the head of Goddard Space Center has said. That's what the head of the UN Climate Program, Maurice Strong, has said, and Ted Turner and Prince Philip, and in all their reports, is you will only be allowed to be in the area that you are working in. You'll have to get special credits to travel outside, special authorization to fly on an airplane, and now, as you know, in England, they're showing British school children these government-funded and corporate-funded cartoons where it shows the future in 10 years where the woman's going, it's my husband's birthday. I've got the credits for him to eat meat once a year. He's not allowed to travel out of the zone, but I am because I'm a social worker. And people watch the videos and think they're a joke about some tyranny. They're not. The sociologists and the psych warfare experts are just showing this to kids like it's normal. And we've played those here. People think that's a joke. No, it's not a joke. Paul, tell folks about this.
Well, I mean, that all comes out of the Royal Society and these big think tanks in the UK. They've openly announced that they want this Plandopolis, where only the elite and the rich will be able to drive cars, where meat will be rationed as it was in communist China, even as recently as the 80s, and where basically the living standards of the West are lowered to a second and third world status as this post-industrial revolution takes hold.
And that's what the tyrants do. The Russians had meat. The Chinese had meat. They do it to make you line up so they have the control. And that was later declassified. They know. That's why Stalin wouldn't let the Ukrainians and others grow their own food and tens of millions starved to death. They banned your own garden. That's what the Food Safety Act and Codex Alimentarius is about. Go ahead.
Well, in the Plandopolis clip, which is coming out of these elite think tanks, they present a global food council which will decide all your rations, all your meat, all your vegetables, everything that you're allowed to get. And that, as he just said, harks back to the Stalinist era. It harks back to Maoist China, where, people didn't just have to line up to get meat. Meat was a special treat. And
Monsanto has said that that's why they're infecting everything with their GMO, because in the future, well, it's already happened, almost every major corn, wheat, you name it, is infected with their genetics. Even if you didn't have their seed, it gets into the other plants. And if they find 1% of their genetics, then you're SWAT teamed. So you won't be able to have a farm or ranch because it's copyrighted, it's patented. You won't be able to grow anything because they've infected everything. And then the courts rule that they haven't polluted you. You've stolen from them, even though it's admitted they polluted you. This is the master takeover plan. You've got to admit they're geniuses.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what they're going to be talking about at the moment. Another thing which I can't remember if I mentioned earlier, but because of all these delays with the problems coming into the local airport and the fact that many of them have had to be rerouted to the Zurich airport 3 hours away, which was borne out by the fact that very few cars, if you think about, you've got 120, 130 members coming to this meeting, it looked like at least half of them haven't even made it yet, which led to a lot of talk about the fact that the conference has been postponed, the official start of it, until tomorrow morning. So that's when they'll actually get down to business with the agenda. So the delays due to the weather and due to the low cloud cover have caused the Bilderberg meeting to be delayed by 1 day.
Oh, the gods are having trouble as they see themselves landing at their Mount Olympus, their little perch, while they drop their droppings on the little serfs. Other facets of the Bilderberg agenda that we're now learning that are absolutely outraging them. we know that they do have the Google execs there and others. They want to clamp down on free speech, and we see that manifested by the EU and others calling for these draconian net rules, Paul.
Yeah, that's what Tucker came out with, the fact that they're still incensed about the free reign that the internet gives alternative media to shine the spotlight on this gaggle of criminals, and according to Tucker, that's also on the agenda this year. So it's about clamping down on free speech and stopping all the people who were assembled there today from getting anywhere near Bilderberg, as they hid their faces while driving past in their tinted windowed cars. The tint on the windows seemed to be almost black, so you couldn't see in the cars without a special lens which would enable you to do so. So we still managed to get some good photos, though, specifically of people like, we believe to be Pearl and Anders Rasmussen, the NATO head, which would obviously verify the fact that Libya is top of the agenda, as Tucker said, with Bilderberg furious about the U.S. Congress putting a roadblock in to stop Obama's war in Libya.
Now, you saw Bill Gates, but were we able to get a photo of that? And I know soon those will be uploaded at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. That's the next thing you're going to do. Do we have a photo of a little population reduction Billy Gates?
We did get a photo of it, but it was very blurred at the time. We need to go in and try and sharpen it up, which is why we said that we're not 100% sure that it was him. But, I mean, that's the closest resemblance that we could see, that it was Bill Gates. And obviously he was there last year in Spain, so it's obviously not out of the question that he would be there again.
All right, Paul, good job. Please hand the phone over to Aaron Dykes, InfoWars reporter, and then I'll be talking to you guys during the break coming up. But let's go ahead and bring Aaron Dykes up here now. Aaron, what's your view on what you're witnessing there in Switzerland as the global cockroaches, the global crime syndicate, meets?
I think they're quite furious that even in the remote, rather elite ski town, that people are still willing to show up and show their faces in protest of the group, Alex. In addition to the names Alex mentioned, I spoke to 4 or 5 separate people who all separately saw David Rockefeller. At least some of them have it on video.
Good, and those will be getting uploaded soon. We'll put that together on the sites. Continue. Other things you've noticed?
Yeah, there was also a possible sighting. I'm consulting my footage as quickly as I can of Matthias Nass, the editor of Die Zeit, the Times in Germany. And he's always an annual attendee. He's on the steering committee as well. And we have other photos, too, of kind of shadowy, rather vampire-looking European members who've come in. And we're going to go through the list and try to identify them as well, Alex.
What about the whole ridiculous bomb scare? Recap other developments for us.
Well, it's obviously a hoax. It's pretty see-through, but the police chief was quite straight-faced in making sure nobody was going to come or go. And he didn't mind telling me he could care less if my car was available or if it'd be towed away or anything, or collateral damage in their hoax, false flag setup to keep the protesters farther from the perimeter. And, of course, yesterday we reported how they had a veil set up to prevent identifying the members at the entry checkpoint. Today, they literally had workers out there constructing a wooden frame to put up a bigger, more extended veil, preventing really any viewing of almost the entire perimeter of the hotel. Yesterday, where you saw us filming the security cameras on tripods, today was much more greatly restricted. And then they were also seen putting up the kind of crime scene tape around the wooded area surrounding the hotel, and a greater police presence further up the hill on the other side of the hotel as well, Alex.
Well, it is a crime scene, so the cops are doing their job.
Yeah, something like that. But, yeah, it really shut things down for a while. Of course, it was heavy rain today, and this whole bomb scare, you know, it was just see-through, Alex, but it was their hoax to keep things under control, or so they hope.
Well, Aaron, we're going to continue to report in the days to come as things unfold, and obviously coming up very soon now, next week, we're going to be able to go over even more that has developed, and we'll learn more about the list and the full spectrum of what's happened and the demonstrations and the rest of it. But any other points as we go to break here that you think are important to add, Aaron?
Well, obviously on the economic front, we have Ednier Davignon back in 2009, obviously implying that they're ahead of this economic collapse, but that it's a real turning point. It could lead to their total global control, but it could also awaken Europeans to just the hard-handed measures of bailing out these banks and employing austerity measures. So he was obviously quite upset even 3 years ago at the possibility that it could awaken more people and cause a greater outrage to their global controls. Of course, they're trying to extend, greater economic controls for the various global bodies, but nothing is set in stone, and they themselves have admitted that it's quite up in the air, and obviously public opinion will play a factor into that. So they're worried about public feedback on all fronts.
It's a crossroads for free humanity and the global parasites, because this is where they really set up their world government by bankrupting us and offering the alternative. But if we stand now and expose them, they will miscalculate and fail. It is so important. Aaron Dykes, Paul Watson, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to come back with some key economic and military news in the final segment. It's Bilderberg coverage. Point people of the world, get in there to St. Moritz, Switzerland. It's going to be Saturday, high noon. If you can't go, don't worry. Spread the word about this protest. Not some ineffective protest, just up against some Capitol building with, thugs trained to beat your heads in for fun. Go in front of the globalists. You heard they didn't want to arrest that guy spray painting because they don't want to draw attention to it. I'm telling you, we got them by the you-know-what's here. This is very exciting. Lack of buyers may force Treasury to boost rates. That's the Washington Times. We've got all this other incredible news. Jobless claims rise. Trade gap narrows. Continuing here. I meant to get to this today. I'll try tomorrow because it's such big news. Because, now we have Fox News reporting it. When I told you 10 years ago, oh, that's that crazy Alex. China genetically modifying cows to produce human breast milk. Do you have any idea what happens when you cross different species together? This is so dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. And, of course, the Department of Agriculture is funding rice, corn, other things that they feed to you that sterilizes you. Of course, it's already going on, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing, green buildings hazardous to health. Report cites risk of weatherization. Yeah, no, everything they push, the little light bulbs that they're putting out are filled with mercury. The new curly Q little devil bulbs. Really good news on this front. Judges sharply challenge health care law, signal that they may completely overturn it. We've already had other courts partially overturn it. It should be overturned because of discrimination, not just that it's unconstitutional. You can't give waivers to McDonald's and other Fortune 100 to not have to buy insurance for their employees, but then make you, the hamburger place next door, buy insurance. It's just incredible. But skeptical questions from 3 judges in Atlanta Federal Appeals Court suggest that they may be ready to declare unconstitutional all or part of the health care law promoted by Obama administration and passed last year. But it doesn't even matter. The bureaucracy's just doing it anyways. I mean, it's like Congress wouldn't pass the new carbon taxes. Obama's just putting them in, I saw reports today that power plants are now having the new regulations go in, and it's going to increase energy costs. I've got it in the stack as like $160 billion, I think is the headline a year. And, of course, that'll be passed on to you, the taxpayer, and the person buying power. Since they started putting in the carbon taxes in Austin, which just means ripping us off and charging us more for this offshore power company that runs things here. In Austin, most people's things doubled the last 2 years. And you like carbon taxes? You like them? Sending more money to these offshore pieces of trash? Man. Here's another one. U.S. judges seem receptive to health care challenge. That's AP. Health care overhaul fight in pivotal Atlanta court. Alabama's News 13, NBC. So, we can beat these people when we point out how ridiculously over the top all of this corruption is. Now, continuing here today, we'll be back tomorrow live, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I've got to go get on a plane to New York, so to be the keynote speaker at Talkers Saturday. But in the third hour, we will have Watson and Aaron reporting live for us. They'll be hosting the show via cell phone from the Bilderberg site. And we'll have a lot more intel. We're trying to get Tucker back on, trying to get Mark Anderson on, a great reporter from AmericanFreePress.net on here with us. We'll have more on the fall of Bilderbergs, the fall of their cover-up, the fall of their lies, the people strike back. Get that video out to everybody. It's on the Alex Jones channel at YouTube. Only you can make this thing get the millions of views it needs to super turbocharge people from all over Europe converging this Saturday at high noon. A lot of other news we didn't get to, like the new war they've started in Yemen. That's right, U.S. bombardment there. Kinetic love action. God bless you all. Great job, crew.